What's going on, guys? Welcome back. Graded Investors. Today we're talking PSA by the numbers. Let's look at it. So these are from 2022 October. So we don't see these numbers till November, but I like to share them with you guys because I find it to be very, very interesting. So number one, you can see there's a small flip, but baseball and Pokemon holding the top two spots. Football is up. Basketball is down. I'm assuming that's largely because we're going into playoffs and people are hoping to send some cards in and get them back by December, January, so they can flip some of their football stuff or, possibly, PC stuff. So very, very cool. Soccer is on its way up. Non-sports significantly up. And then you got to ask yourself, what fell out, right? Hockey's down one, not a big deal. Yu-Gi-Oh! So yeah, overall, I do find it very, very interesting that Pokemon is number one. Who would have thunk that Pokemon would stay up there near the top? But it just goes to show they've got a vibrant and aggressively grading community because they also grade with a lot of other companies. It's not just PSA. In fact, with Pokemon cards, there are other companies that grade that actually do a better job, if that makes sense. Or they're more popular, might be a better way to say it, with the, the Pokemon and then they're companies that grade comic books and they now do cards, and so people trust them a little bit who are in that community. So kind of interesting, but baseball's down just a little bit, not a lot. So let's dig a little deeper. So most submitted card for sports, right? 1989 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. Star Rookie is number one. I wish they would put the numbers next to it, but look at this. It jumped from number 7 last month to number 1. That is, to me, it's wild. We also can see that there is, I'm not a huge hockey guy. I'm from Minnesota, so you'd think I'd watch more hockey. But yeah, Moritz Seider is way, way up. Went from not in the top 10 to all the way up. For some reason, a bunch of Upper Deck golf. Tiger Woods, which I love Tiger Woods, but what was the change from last month to this month? It's a great question. One thing to keep in mind is a lot of these cards may have been submitted 2 to 3 months ago and are only now getting through their system. But it's still interesting. It's really interesting to me. We got Lucas Raymond, that's a hockey guy right there. Anthony Edwards has been moving up a ton. What's interesting is you're not seeing LaMelo right now. So either everyone got their LaMelos graded or LaMelo's just not up there. And these are specific cards, right? So they're talking about a Panini Prism base. 1990 Fleer 26 Michael Jordan. Why is that one getting submitted so much? If you guys have thoughts, put it in the comments, man. I'm super curious. You guys' take. This card makes a ton of sense to me. The 1996 Kobe rookie. I mean, why wouldn't you, right? Makes a ton of sense to me. This one makes a ton of sense to me. Was number 1 last month, dropped to number 9. This makes a ton of sense to me. The 2021 Donruss Optic, it makes sense. I like that one too. The same with this. But there's a couple cards like this, the 96 or 1990 Fleer Michael Jordan. Why is there a big uptick in those? And then Ken Griffey. Why is there a big uptick in Griffey? All right, let's jump to the next screen. So here we've got most submitted cards TCG, right? I'm not sure why we're getting a dual. Oop, there we go. So number 1 is the Swish Black Star promo special delivery Charizard. That makes sense to me, right? Totally get why those are getting sent in. It looks like these are the UK version, but that makes sense to me. It's Charizard and Pikachu. I mean, come on. If you're a Pokemon person, I mean, any card with both Charizard and Pikachu, pretty lit. Pikachu's riding his back, totally makes sense. Incandescent Arcana Full Art Serena. I'm assuming that's this one here. So she's been really popular. We've got a few we're sending in, so I guess that makes sense. But it's interesting. Pokemon Game 4 Charizard Holo from 1999. So that's one of the originals. So how are there so many of those still getting sent in? So there's a lot of them out there. That's kind of exciting, but also if you've got those, kind of terrifying. But you can see most of the cards getting hit up for Pokemon are 21 and 22 cards. So there's not a lot of older stuff, just the Charizard. But golly, you'd think that would slow down at some point. Everybody who has one just found it at this point. Most submitted athletes by sport. I like this because it gives you a good idea of kind of who's most popular. Shohei Ohtani is number 1 in baseball. That makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, what he is doing on the field, next level, right? Aaron Judge, I mean, what can be said? He had one of the greatest seasons of a position player in MLB history, like pretty much period, right? One of the greatest seasons ever. Ken Griffey Jr. makes sense. Julio makes sense. Warner makes sense. So this list makes so much sense to me. It's really hard to argue. This list makes sense, right? Hard to argue this one as well. We got Trevor Lawrence moving into the number 1 spot. He's been playing well. The team not only is trending up, but they're going out and continuing to stockpile talent, and their talent is continuing to look good. So I really like where the Jaguars are going. I don't know if they're going to pull it together. I think football is one of the most difficult sports to play at a high level for a long time. There's a lot of infrastructure that needs to happen. Just because, unlike baseball, where if you get the right guys in the right, and I'm not taking anything away from baseball. Baseball is a very difficult sport. But if you get the right guys in the right position, each person does their job, you win. But in football, 1 or 2 people aren't playing at as high of a level, and you start to crumble because every single person on that field has a role. And it's not to say that doesn't happen in baseball, but in baseball, it's kind of doing your own job. And I know that's the New England Patriots motto, which I love, do your job. But I do find it to be interesting, so there's that. But good list again. The only guy, maybe Mac Jones still being up there seems off, but I still like Mac Jones. I still like the future there for him. Joey B dropping down to 5. Come on, people. It's Joe Burrow. That's my guy right there. But solid list. Basketball, Michael Jordan totally makes sense. Kobe, LeBron James. So you got the big 3. Hard to argue that. As a Minnesota Timberwolves fan, huge fan of seeing Anthony Edwards here, and then we can see that Ja Morant has been looking really, really good, so he is moving up the board. This list makes a ton of sense to me. Let me know what you guys think. Is there someone that you think should be getting graded more that's not? Totally curious your take. And then with hockey, the only one that makes sense to me is Wayne Gretzky. Beyond that, I have not paid as much attention. But I can tell you this, these 3 rookies are the rookies to look out for because people are sending these guys in hand over fist. And I've heard a lot about Connor McDavid, so I assume he's good. But pretty interesting so far. Let's jump into most submitted athletes by sports categories. So we got golf. Justin Thomas, haven't heard of him, so he must be an up-and-comer. Colin Morikawa, interesting last name, haven't heard that one. But the big 3, those are your superstars. And then we've got what I assume are up-and-comers. Emerging sports. It's interesting, the top 2, you can see where a lot of the money is going for sports cards in emerging sports, and it is F1 for sure. With soccer, Holland is looking great. Messi, hard to argue with, arguably one of the top 2 players of all time. Maybe top 3, Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, we're witnessing greatness to be able to see these 2 guys at the same time. It's just incredible. Mbappe makes a ton of sense. Gavi, I've not heard a lot about him, so I'm assuming he's an up-and-comer. Again, roast me in the comments if I'm off on these. Boxing, wrestling, MMA, The Rock's always going to be there. Conor McGregor is super popular. Hulk Hogan, arguably one of the guys who really started this whole boxing, MMA, wrestling thing when it comes to popularity in trading cards. And outside of Hulk Hogan was definitely one of the guys. Kazmat Chimaev, we sent in a gold Kazmat this year. Got a PSA 10, very excited. Paddy Pimblett. Why is he so popular? That's a good question. Could be some of his extracurricular stuff. He's got some deals going on out there. It's pretty interesting. So, most submitted, I mean, Charizard, you're just never not going to see him in number 1. Pikachu's number 2. And then these 2 flipped. Makes a ton of sense. Umbreon being in number 5 makes some sense to me. The rest of these I don't know enough about, but I'll leave them up on the board here for a second so you guys can check them out. Again, let me know what you guys think about doing this once a month. These only come out once a month, but we can give you a good idea of, like, you know, if there's someone that's being graded more often. This isn't a deep dive into the numbers. We have to take PSA's kind of what they've put out as truth. They don't back it with any sort of data, so we don't know the numbers. Because what's interesting to me, right, is let's say Charizard's here, Pikachu's here. Are there 3 times as many Charizards being graded as Pikachus? We don't know unless we go and dig in their numbers. And even if you dug in their numbers, it would be hard to know unless you took a snapshot maybe at the first of the month every month or something like that. Here's one thing that's interesting to me. I don't know if anybody is a Magic the Gathering, either you've played in the past or you currently play or you used to collect. But how crazy is it that swamps and islands are up there as some of the most graded cards in Magic? I am so confused by that, but I'm assuming it's the old school art that people love. But it's wild because you imagine you're spending, $18, $20, $25 getting a swamp graded. I mean, when I used to play back in, the mid to early 2000s, nobody would have even imagined this. And then Lightning Bolt, maybe one of the most generic cards out there. So let me know what you guys think of this as something we make a monthly video out of. Appreciate you guys checking it out. Drop a like, comment, subscribe if you guys haven't. And we'll look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. I'm out.